Well, I was actually teaching at Quantico. I was teaching Train the Trainer. We were trying to kind of force multiply so we can get more people in the FBI to go out and train on sex crimes and stuff. And my sister paged me in the middle of this class a number of times, and then she literally paged me 911. And I was like, what's going on? And so I gave the class a break. I went to the video room and I called her. And as I'm calling her, I look at, there's a monitor and it's showing the World Trade Center on fire. And I was like, why are they showing 1993? What's going on? But I'm calling my sister and I'm just seeing that. And when she gets on the phone, she's like, Jimmy, your plane hit the World Trade Center.
Hey everyone, welcome to a new feature of the podcast. These episodes are called Flashback Fridays. Yes, a bit cliche, but they're going to be released the first Friday of each month, and they are recaps of early episodes. The podcast is seeing growth, and I'm truly appreciative to all of you who are taking the time to listen or watch. I will ask, please subscribe and follow on whatever platform you're getting these episodes from. Please leave a rating, and please share it with anybody that you think might benefit from listening to the episodes also. These Flashback Friday episodes, I've taken the original and chopped them down to about 10 minutes. I hope that you'll find these segments interesting and compelling enough that you want to go back and listen to the full episode if you haven't already listened to it. Or maybe you missed something from when you first listened to it. Either way, I'm hoping that this will spur you to want to go back and listen. Let's get into the first episode of the Flashback Fridays. This is a recap of episode 42 with retired FBI agent, TV producer, podcast host, Jim Clemente.
I went to law school at night because I had to get a job to pay for it. And one of the jobs I got was security at the school. I loved criminal law and constitutional criminal law. And I thought, that's definitely what I want to do. So my plan was to get a job on the prosecution side and the defense side and see where I would, end up. And because I really wanted to help people, and it seemed like the prosecution side is the right way to do it. But I also think that sometimes people get a raw deal on the defense side, so I also wanted to prevent false convictions. Well, a perfect example is the West Memphis 3 case. So when they thought this child sacrifice thing happened, they just went crazy and looked for the crazy guys in the neighborhood, and that's a total mischaracterization of justice. When I got the job at the prosecutor's office, I literally told the defense attorneys, hey, if you got somebody who you think is actually innocent, bring him in and talk to me. They rarely came to me, but a few times they did, and I listened and, had the cops do additional investigation, and sometimes I went out and actually followed up on things. When I was a kid, I think I wanted to be a detective. You get a college degree and a law degree, you'd have to go back and become a street cop for years and then hope to become a detective, whereas I worked a case with the FBI, and the FBI agent said, well, FBI agents are just federal detectives. And it just was like a light bulb goes off. So I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. It wasn't my goal going in until we had the behavioral science class. And Pete Smerick was the profiler who taught our class. I didn't know about profiling until I took that class. But once I took it, I was like, that's the best way to use your brain. And immediately I was fascinated by it. So at the end of the class, I went up to him and I said, look, I want to do what you do. They stopped planes flying, but United flew all the bomb techs up to New York. I got in my car and started driving. Of course, it took me a little longer to get there than they got there. It wasn't until 5 a.m. So I got there, went onto the pile, and we were all just digging with our hands. There was one active FBI agent who got killed that day, Lenny Hatton. He was the bomb tech who stayed behind in New York in case something happened. All the other bomb techs were in that room. every one of them would have been at the site except for this class. Some of the contractors were selling classified safes for the junk metal with all the documents in it. They were taking it from the site and just selling it. And so they fired all the contractors. So my unit and a few other units did all the demolition at the Pentagon. I had lymphoma. I got it from being a first responder on 9/11. I was just exhausted. I was traveling a tremendous amount. And I finally, in, I don't know, May or June of 2004, told my boss, look, I don't know what's going on, but man, I'm not recovering from these trips. I got to slow down. He said, I've been trying to get you to slow down for 5 years. I had never felt so exhausted in my life. And that's when the next day I told him, I was like, this is just getting too hard. He kept giving me like antibiotics and stuff, and nothing changed. And I started coughing. Nobody could find anything wrong with me. And I was very, I was more and more and more exhausted. And I literally started sleeping, sitting up in a chair in my living room. I started coughing, and I couldn't stop, and I couldn't catch my breath, and I couldn't breathe. So I called 911, but I couldn't speak. I want to x-ray you. He x-rayed me. I had a tumor the size of a softball. I remember them saying, I have lymphoma. They show me in my room. I go over to the bed. I pick up the folder there, and it says, welcome to the Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center. I looked at my sister and said, I have cancer? Bone marrow transplant and a massive heart attack as a result of the chemo. I'm still here, and 17 going on 18 years this November, right? And then I guess 12 years from how many years from my heart attack? It'd be 12 years from my heart attack. I was recovering from my bone marrow transplant, and I got a call from a friend of mine Chris Whitcomb, who was taking around this, actor, he said, who wanted to meet FBI profilers. But he said, isn't there anybody in the FBI with a personality? I went to this bagel place to meet them, and Mandy Patinkin walks up to me and shakes my hand. Said, hi, I'm Mandy Patinkin. I said, of course you're Mandy Patinkin. Think I'm stupid? They ended up basing his character on me, and I became a tech advisor. I would eventually start as a tech advisor on Criminal Minds. In 94, I wrote my first screenplay. In season 2, I said, I want to try to write an episode. Eventually, I wrote like 14 episodes of Criminal Minds and became a full-time writer-producer on the show. It's a double-edged sword. They were just adding a whole new layer of new regulations into the FBI. We had to study, we had to take these classes, and then we had to take tests. But I remember when I joined the FBI, the old guys, the old guard would complain to me about, the FBI is not what it used to be, and, we have to do all these things. And I realized, every generation is going to have the same thing. So the administrative side, I don't miss at all, right? But when something happens and you could help, and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't work there anymore. That kind of thing. Or somebody calls you and says, oh, I need your help. And you're like, I don't work there anymore, but I can refer you. So not being involved when you think you can add to the mix, that was hard. 2 things. Read Sid Field, Save the Cat. That's the most basic, simple way to learn about what you're supposed to be doing when you're writing a screenplay. And there's a lot of other things, and there's things like Writer's Boot Camp, if you want to spend some time actually doing it. But you should read Sid Field, and you can download online thousands and thousands of successful scripts. And you should read the scripts, and you can see how some are really dense with all this writing and stuff.